Hey guys, Brown's thoughts here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. I feel like I've beaten this topic to death, but that loss was just so putrid and so disgusting to me that I have to do a Monday follow up, a morning after here version of Brown's thoughts. Okay, I've let this marinate for close to, 24 hours. We're around 24 hours here since the Browns lost to the New York Giants 21-15. And my opinion doesn't change. It hasn't changed. And I feel like I am, talking to a bunch of morons on the internet. There's at least some sensible people who, like were supporting Deshaun, which, was stupid. Like we saw like literally a few games in that this guy couldn't play and he wasn't going to be close to what he ever was in the past. And then all of the, legal issues were going to follow him. But this was going to always be a mid to below average quarterback. And for the money that they're paying him, it's just not acceptable. And anybody who wants to point to the offensive line, I think we're up to like 16 sacks on the season or something like that. It's something crazy. He's been hit a lot. The offensive line, Wyatt Teller's going to miss a bunch of games, which is unfortunate. He's one of their best offensive linemen. Jack Conklin hasn't played this year. Jedrick Wills stinks. DeJuan Jones has regressed. Like, the offensive line is bad. Let's get that out of the way. But, and I got to give credit to Ben Axelrod, Cleveland guy. He now writes for Awful Announcing. He put out this tweet, and I think this encapsulates exactly how I feel about this. He said, the problem with the idea of Deshaun Watson needing everything around him to be perfect to perform well are that, one, that's not realistic considering the realities of his contract, and two, that's exactly why you traded for him in the first place. This is exactly what I've been trying to say for at least, I would say for at least this season and for, some portions of last season as well, before he had that good game against Baltimore and then got hurt. So here's the problem. You cannot have a quarterback getting paid that amount of money and not being able to clear 200 yards in 3 straight games. You just can't have it. I don't give a crap if it's the offensive line or not. You've got to be able, if you're getting paid that kind of money, you need to overcome and adapt. Like guys like CJ Stroud, who's in his second year, is facing bad protection. You've got other quarterbacks running for their freaking lives the entire time. Like, it's just some of the best quarterbacks. Josh Allen's running for his life. He's succeeding with guys like Khalil Shakir, who I don't even fucking know who the fuck that is. Like, he's been maybe one of their best receivers. Like, you've got elite quarterbacks in the NFL that are succeeding with below average or average talent. And the Browns got great talent on the outside. They're obviously limited to running back because Nick Chubb is still on the physically unable to perform list. But offensive line, Bill Callahan or not, or, injuries or not, that's not an excuse for Deshaun Watson at this point. When you get all that money, you're 15 games in. I understand that there's been injuries there, but that contract it pretty much absolves him of any excuses. Like, there's no excuse. I don't care. We're 3 years into this thing. It's time to give up and wave the white flag on this whole experiment, rip the Band-Aid off, as I've been saying for the last 2 days, and just move on. Give Jameis Winston a run, because at least he's not going to be scared and not going to skip a knuckleball on an in-cut or on an out-cut towards the sidelines. Like, that was a basic throw that in the third quarter, he skips like 5 feet in front of, I think it was Amari Cooper. And that's just embarrassing. That's just embarrassing. So I appreciate Ben Axelrod bringing this up, because that's literally everything that I've been saying about the whole crux of this issue with Deshaun Watson is like the Browns, they did this to themselves by paying this guy, but this is not on the coaching staff at all. Like they've made some mistakes, but Deshaun Watson has got to be better. Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time coach of the year. I've seen so many people on the internet just rip Kevin Stefanski apart. Guys, do you realize how many coaches the Browns have had before Kevin Stefanski and didn't make the playoffs and were bottom feeders in the NFL? This guy has taken the Browns to the playoffs twice in the last 4 years. Twice in the last 4 years. And you want to blame him? You want to blame him for this crap? Yeah, there's personnel issues, there's injury issues, there's offensive line issues. But you know what would have changed a lot of this crap? If your $230 million quarterback was playing better. The reason why they paid him all this money is because he's supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And so far, through 15 games, this guy has been a bunch of ass. This is bullshit. And if you are still defending this, you are just as much a part of the problem as, what's going on the field. There's other issues everywhere else, but when you pay a player and a quarterback that much money, you are expecting him to be a superhuman level talent. And whether that's fair or not, Deshaun Watson signed that contract. The Browns gave him all that money. The Browns traded all those picks for him. The pressure has always been on him. And just because, hey, he needs everything to be perfect around him, like that's okay that like he can go under 200 yards the first 3 games of the season. We had the same conversation with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was a number 1 pick. He wasn't getting paid like this and getting an absurd contract and getting traded 3 draft picks for. Maybe that's the reason why people want Baker Mayfield back, because, hey, at least Baker Mayfield had some motivation behind him and had some drive and had some hunger. I don't see that from Deshaun Watson whatsoever. So, again, my plea first of all, plea to Jimmy Haslam, sell the damn team. We don't need you anymore. We don't want you there anymore. Second of all, bench Deshaun Watson. Rip the Band-Aid off. I don't know what the delay is. You want to delay it for potential legal stuff to help you make this decision for you because you have too much pride. It is clear as day. This guy is limiting this team 17 points after scoring opening drive touchdowns on script the last 2 weeks. They haven't cleared 20 points. He hasn't cleared 200 yards. This is not good enough. And I am not giving him the benefit of the doubt at all, because yes, the offensive line could play better, but he's got to be better given the amount of money that is invested in him. So let's stop the nonsense. I feel like I'm going to blow my lid off here talking about this, because I just feel like so many people are completely and utterly misguided in, trying to, excuse and absolve Deshaun Watson. Yeah, there's a lot of blame to go around, but that contract just completely, it doesn't give Deshaun any outs or excuses. Like, you signed that contract, man. You're the face of the franchise. You're supposed to be the face of the franchise. You need to play better than that, especially against the New York Giants at home. When you score a touchdown 11 seconds into the game, you can't lose that game. And they couldn't produce on offense for most of that game. They found something in the fourth quarter. Yes, there was a drop by Cedric Tillman. Yes, there was a fumble by Jerome Ford, but it should have never come to that. And I'm really starting to get concerned that the further we go along in this season with really tough games, like they're on the road the next 3 weeks. And their schedule does not get easier because they still have to play the Steelers. They still have to play the Ravens. They still have to play the Bengals twice. They have to play all 3 of those teams twice. One of those games in the next 3 is at Philadelphia. And even though they have a coaching problem, they really have a coaching problem. The Browns don't. The Eagles are really talented. So you cannot mess around with this for much longer. I'm going to be surprised if Deshaun Watson is not starting the game against the Raiders. But if it gets bad and they fall to 1-3, I would just, first of all, I would just rip the Band-Aid off now. But they're not going to do it. So I would expect Deshaun Watson to start in Las Vegas. And if they fall to 1-3, especially to a team that just lost to Carolina, for God's sake, and had probably a more humiliating loss, difference is Gardner Minshew's starting for them. He's getting paid next to nothing. So this has got to be it. End the experiment. Just please, for the love of God, end the experiment. And the longer this goes on, this further hammers home my point that Kevin Stefanski, despite being a 2-time coach of the year and proving that he's one of the best coaches in Browns history, has no control over this situation. The Haslams need to stay the hell out of football operations. We need to move the hell on from this guy. I'm hoping that at some point, although there's no real redeeming quality because the owner gave that gross contract to Deshaun Watson, I hope that the NFL, does suspend Deshaun Watson at some point, and this is a bad situation that the Browns can get out of. But they're in this situation because ownership just wanted to have that high priced quarterback. They were pressured into doing something, and they made a decision that just did not make any sense. And you're seeing it play out in front of your eyes. This guy was gone for way too long. He's way too rusty, and he can't play. He can't play. Put Jameis Winston in. He may not be he may be a better option at this point because at least he's not going to be scared, and he doesn't have that big albatross of a contract hanging over him. So at least you could have some excuses there that the quarterback didn't play well. But I think Jameis Winston would play a whole hell of a lot better and closer to what Joe Flacco did, because that's the other part of this that also a lot of people are not, looking at or just immediately dismissing. Joe Flacco played 6 games last year for the Browns. 5 of them he threw for 300 yards. Deshaun Watson, 3 games into the season, has 200. It can't even get to 200. What are we doing? What are we doing? Stop the nonsense. Rip the Band-Aid off. End this thing, okay? Like, share, and subscribe here for other Browns thoughts, sports entertainment. We'll have a wrestling conversation here as well. A lot of other NFL takes throughout the week, also college football. Perfect blend of sports and sports entertainment here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. I will talk to you guys very, very soon. And, have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.